Craig, how's it going?
Hey, happy Friday.
Happy Friday. How's today been for you?
Not so bad aside from the stock market kind of shit in the bed, but beautiful sunny day. Golf courses are open today.
Did you hit the chorus?
I didn't. I have to send reserve a tee time for the weekend, and they do it by a lottery basis.
Mm.
But like they adjust the rules, like you can't pull the pin or like different types of social distancing and stuff. But at least it's something.
Yeah. Well, just to kind of.
Well, I'm gonna try to hit. Sorry, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, but I can hear you. It's perfect.
I might have to hit the volume a little bit on my end.
Can you hear me?
Okay, now much better.
Okay, perfect. So thank you for everybody to coming to I think this is our 5th or 6th, maybe 7th Anderson Street neighborhood chat. We do this because we want to just touch base with all the Philly creatives. It is a dangerous time for this industry. In Anderson Street, even though we aren't artists ourselves, we're a part of it. We are, we touch base with all of these folks on a daily basis. So we just want to do these check-ins and see how everybody is. I know there's some folks in the room. Hey, Kim. Hey, Cherry. Love you, Cherry. And Cherry's been, for those who don't know, Cherry is an amazing journalist with KYW. She has been covering COVID from the very beginning, especially how it's been impacting the Black community. So if you haven't been watching and reading her stuff, you definitely need to, because she's keeping everybody in the loop. And Ava's in the room too. Hey, Ava. Hey, boo. So, the way, and I want to introduce everyone to Craig Dash. He is one of our meaning Anderson Street's favorite DJs. He is he plays a variety of music and a variety of places, and has been doing it for a long time. So he has seen people come and go. So it's great that we have the opportunity to sit down and chat. Unfortunately, it's not because these times are bringing us together, but it is what it is.
Yeah, welcome to Chateau Dasho, where it smells like a rich mahogany.
That's
and only the finest odoriferous candle scents from the Dollar General.
Well, that's very Erykah Badu of you.
Yes. Head wrapped.
Listen, now I will be at that bad.
That was going to be my other look, actually.
Really?
That. Yeah, because it's I kind of feel like the most Philly thing is like the hijab with the cell phone tucked in.
Yeah.
Like, hands free. I get it.
You've been to Philadelphia way too long.
I have been way too long. No, I love it.
So the way that we've been starting off these conversations is with a very simple question, which is, how are you during these crazy ass times that we're in?
I'm scared. I'm like tough sleeping, waking up, like every day waking up and thinking about I haven't thought about things like this until I was like a little kid.
Yeah.
And never imagining it. And then just being scared to even, step outside the door, go out to the street. Everybody's wearing masks down. You don't know what's beneath it. You, even if you go to the corner store, that the clerk's wearing a mask. How long have they been in the country? Fucking aliens, man. How long have they been here? Like, we start seeing, like, can they shapeshift? Can they adopt our physical bodies and look like humans? What are the UFOs saying? Are they trying to give us a message? Like, what is going on, Evan?
Well, shit, I don't know nothing about the UFOs, But
they're here, man. What are they trying to tell us? Did something happen to their planet and they want to come and ransack ours and take it? I I don't know, man.
well,
I never would have thought that I would see things like this.
listen. Please don't make this more into a sci-fi network movie than what we're already living in. I already feel like I'm living in some dystopian movie, and I've watched way too many episodes of The Handmaid's Tale, so I'm always a little bit on edge. So please don't make me any more fearful than I am. I've already
It is
scheduled way
very
too many.
true.
Listen, I've scheduled way too many emergency therapy sessions over these last few weeks. So
People jump on them and like they excerpt bits from that, and I go, "What the fuck is Craig Dash talking about?" Unedited versions. I fear for that.
But no, go ahead.
Do they know about the coronavirus? Did it inhabit their planet, and then they're here to go ahead and take ours? Because it's somewhat pure. It's not. No, I mean, all jokes aside, I actually have been pretty upbeat throughout this whole thing.
Oh, that's good.
I think that I mean, what is it, like day 48 or something? Mm-hmm. I had the ability of moving during the coronavirus. So, you know, just like whenever you're leaving an apartment or a residence, you're going through like purging everything that you don't need anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, you're starting to pre-plan. So that took a lot of like the first 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks of the virus. Mm-hmm. That I was like kind of like in my head with doing that. So I had something to do. And it was also really therapeutic, just kind of like getting rid of old shit, you know? And like, my only concern was somebody could be able to move me, where movers going to be considered essential business. You know? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And thankfully everything went off without a hitch.
That's good. So, you know, I don't even think I know. I know some of your roots, but tell people, you know, about your journey into being a DJ. And then also, everybody, for those who are watching, if you have any questions for Craig or me, feel free to drop them in the comments, and we'll be, you know, responding to stuff all night. But you know, tell people about your background and, you know, even like where your love for music started and how that brought you to Philly.
It's gonna be a lot. How much time do we have? I'll try to go into between different parts and not elaborate too much on. Mm-hmm. I think I've said this before. I think the first time that I really was getting into music was when I would be at like my Nana and Pop-Pop's house, mm-hmm. and they had their whole record collection, and it was that they had a basement, and it was really the only place where, you know, kids go play, while adults were doing, you know, up mm-hmm. to their things, and so it was a lot of early jazz records, a lot of, you know, world like bossa nova records, and Fats Domino was like one of the biggest things. Josephine was like, I would fucking jam out. You know, like, so a lot of like early like rock and roll, but from black artists, you know, like Jackie Wilson records, and you know, even Elvis, like, I mean, you know, what they called race records, you know, back then. So it was I would just kind of play those, and comedy records too.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I could.
Well, I mean, can we say Bill Cosby nowadays? But like,
well, with caution.
Yeah, I mean, all the like early Bill Cosby records and things, and laughing type of stuff that was. Mm-hmm. But yeah, and that's how I entertain myself. I think record player and then having a cassette player was like my first toy that I really was passionate about. Mm-hmm. I had a Fisher Price made a small like cassette deck. It's this brown cassette deck, and that was my
Mm-hmm.
favorite thing in the world. And you know, when tapes would like get worn out on that, it was just like a travesty. Like, when you're a little kid and you don't have you know, the fine motor skills to be able to spool that back in, it was just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was the escape part of it, and I. So that was my at my grandparents' house, and they lived in Montgomery County here
Okay.
in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
But my folks, we lived in the like Harrisburg area.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, like right when I was born, like right around when I was born, was when the 3 Mile Island nuclear fallout had happened. And like they rushed people out of that area. It was like, you know, real shit, you know.
Why
So
did I
it was
think
like,
you were from Baltimore?
I did. I mean, I would say from Baltimore was 8th grade to college.
Okay.
Yeah, like Anne Arundel County in Maryland, and that was a great experience. Like, I loved living there. Like, I still think I consider myself a Mainlander, and like the Chesapeake Bay is like fucking huge.
Yeah, I love the Chesapeake Bay. I think if I were to live in, or if I were to retire somewhere, I would get like one of those. Listen, I also watched way too many episodes of the Real Housewives of the Potomac, but I would totally get a mansion on I would totally get a mansion on the Chesapeake Bay. I love Annapolis. I love all the
Yeah,
around there, and I love the crabs. Ooh, child, y'all make a crab cake. But
Annapolis is great. I worked in Annapolis like during the high school time.
Oh, nice.
And then where I lived in Glen Burnie. In fact, like my McDonald's was my first job. Second job was J.C. Penney, and I worked with Tamar Braxton in the young men's department.
Wait. Okay, so tell us that story.
So,
Because Tamar's crazy as hell, so please let us know.
and I never really had that any inclination. Like when we were like, I guess maybe around 16, she went to Old Mill. Tony went to Glen Burnie, where was my high school.
Yes.
But she was like 4 years ahead of, like 3 or 4 years ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
But Tamar went to Old Mill, and yeah, we would just like kick it Willie Bow in the young men, like, and it was weird. Like, this was still times where you had to do the like you started to see technology change, but this is when you still had the credit card that had to go into that punch card type of thing. But it was great. She gave me, you know, dating advice, and it was just like a regular work, you know, young kids working at the mall type of situation.
So did you know, like, that, you know, what did you know with the Braxtons during that time? Because I mean, you know,
it was right when Boomerang, I think.
Oh, wow.
I mean, Tony had just kind of like started to grow up.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting because their family, you know, they kind of lived out in the sticks. I was kind of out in like a suburban sticks, but they were about like 4 minutes away.
Right.
But their father was, I mean, I never really watched their show. I just kind of from hearsay type of stuff.
Yeah.
So it was like all that I ever knew was just, you know, good people. But I knew that they had like a major clamp down on them as far as like secular music and like, skirts. Like Tony, you know, they had to wear like long skirts and
interesting.
No sex appeal. So it made sense when like Tony blew the fuck up in You're Making Me High, and they're like, whoa, where's this?
Right. The repressed energy.
Sexuality. Yeah, exactly. And Tamar and I definitely clicked because we were both huge Prince fans. So it was awesome.
So how did you get from Baltimore to Philly?
So I went to school at UMBC for film, art history, and I moved out to Los Angeles to work in the film industry. My last year of college, I was doing an internship at Columbia and Epic, Beltsville, Maryland. And that was great because that's when I first started to really like have records on my own. Because we would get paid, like it was an unpaid internship, but we would get complete access to all the CDs and vinyl that we could. So, you know, I would take them back, either like take them to like record and tape traders and be like, yo, I got this rare ass Pink Floyd CD, you know, like in stacks of them. And, you know, they would kind of like, you know, pay me that way, but then all the vinyl I would keep. And that was like, we had like King Brit's Silk record was there. It was right at the time when I was there was when Jill Scott was on Hidden Beach. And her album was just out. Like Jill Scott 2001 were also like in that area. Will Smith's Millennium album had just came out. So yeah, it was cool. Like that's when I really was like, oh man, like learning a lot about like different, like real abstract shit. Like Carl Hancock Brooks, Green Velvet, King Brit, like and I was like, man, I dig this. You know. But then it was like, okay, then now it's time to like start a career. So I packed everything in my car and drove out to Los Angeles. And did odd jobs for a long time, like
just, that's LA for you.
Yeah, like I was like, oh, all right, I have a degree. Like I started working for a property management firm, and it was like doing nothing that was music related. And then, you know, I think maybe like two years into that, I was like, what the fuck did I move all the way out to this coast and I'm not really doing anything? But all the time I was still DJing. I was DJing at like Occidental University, like house parties and stuff like that. And just learning about different forms of music, like for, you know, young people. And things just started like rolling more so around that time because I had people that were actually like willing to sit and listen to like my train wreck mixes and then, you know, kind of give you some like there's some sense of like metacognition that I was like, okay, like making mistakes, like how do I remedy this situation? And then the time and practice, you know, you just get better. Which was a far cry from Baltimore because I was getting booed off fucking stages in Baltimore.
Really?
Yeah, like but I should have been. I was in like a complete noob, but with reckless abandon and like overconfidence, you know.
Were you into the like the Baltimore club scene down there?
Absolutely. In fact, like in high school, one of the like my early and seriously like and to this day I still credit a lot. There was a guy named DJ Booby, and you know people would go to like Meldalman Mall or like different, you know, like swap meet types of things on the weekends, all for like this booby tape. Like, oh, you get the booby tape? That was the thing. But like Scotty B and Techniques and, you know, K Swift, like that's who we heard on the radio, you know? And that's when you heard of it. When you thought what a DJ was, like, you're like, that's it. You know, that's a fucking... DJs that you didn't bother when you were at the club, they just did their thing.
Right.
You would never. That was sacrilegious to even try to like have a conversation.
So LA. And then you said Jill Scott and that whole scene brought you to Philly.
I would say that what brought me to Philly. Well, I went to grad school at Temple.
Right.
I moved back to be closer to my family. But musically at the time, what was really like piquing my interest was Glenn Lewis's album, World Outside My Window.
Yeah.
It was like my album of the year. Like I fucking loved that shit. And like Flowetry was the Music Soul Child, all that stuff, that really neo soul sound. I don't want to say neo soul, but you know, like that, I was, man, what the fuck is going on in Philly? Like, that's where I need to be.
Interesting. So, what? So, like, where did your love? So you said, well, you kind of answered this already. So you said the love of your of black music came from your grandparents. Um,
Um, I think that that's where the beginning investigation came from. But like I had like my first friend when I was, you know, in elementary school was black. The first time I spent a night at somebody's house, it was at a black family's house. So it
mm-hmm.
was like it I it's just identified that I was also like very small, scrawny, and outcast type of kid, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot. I think at that time, like even like my white peers were intimidating to me. So it was, or
Mm-hmm.
like either bullied, by white kids a lot, and I don't know whether it was like, oh, they thought of me as like a just oddball, weird person, or like Cher said, half breed or whatever, like weird shit like that. Like I just kind of felt like, oh man, like these guys are cool and they're nice to me. I'm nice, and my first babysitter was black, and he worked
Mm-hmm.
at a roller skating rink. I would say another, like, roller skating rink is important. Like really, really loving music and knowing about the history of music,
Yes.
because you got to hear it all at the roller skating rink, and
Right.
that was our first club.
Yeah. Same here in Philly. It was big. The roller skating rink. For those who are elders like me, we all remember WOW and the WOW parties back in the day. So yeah, I totally relate to that. So so you've been in Philadelphia, what, going on 20 years?
Yeah.
Why did you
No,
stay?
wait. I've been here like 13 years, 12 years.
13 years. Okay. So what made you call Philly home?
The way that I thought about it was, after 10 years, I think you've deserved the right to call Philly your home. Like,
That's
I
true.
would still say, I would still rep LA, and I would still, and like I said, the Chesapeake is in my blood,
Yeah.
and I'm a diehard Baltimore Ravens fan. Like, the sports teams of Baltimore are still like my, you know. But when I go elsewhere, or I say I'm from Philadelphia, um, I don't see myself leaving here anytime soon. Like, it took a while, but I really, really took to this city. It's fucking great. Like, especially our community.
Yes, absolutely. So
I get to meet great people like you, Evan.
well, I appreciate that. But then again, as much as I love Philadelphia, I fall in and out of love with it. The news today of I don't know if y'all saw, but they cut the art. I mean, we knew that there were going to be some drastic cuts to the city budget, but they cut literally the entire arts department, which was heartbreaking for me. That because that means that they're just not going to invest in arts probably until the next fiscal year. But you know, things like that, and the fight for artists here to get respect, that's not a household name, sometimes bugs the living shit out of me.
Mm.
But that's part of the reason why I started Anderson Street, was to try to create this equitable table where it's not a popularity contest. Because we Philly goes out in droves for Beyonce, Jay-Z, Justin Timberlake. When they come to town, the whole city is there. But sometimes we're a little funny when it's our own folks, and it's our own folks, and they're people who are really deserving of an audience. But that's my qualms with Philly. I convince there's days where I really have to convince myself to stay here, but I am in grad school, so we'll see what
Yep.
comes next.
It's good. And you're at Georgetown, right?
Yeah, I'm at Georgetown, and it's by far the hardest couple of weeks of my life. It's incredibly hard. Um, I think this is probably. I think they said that toward the middle point of this program is when it gets very real. They weren't lying. I feel like there's just something to every day. or and something to do every day. But it's fine. But we'll see what the future holds. Like my mission, as yours is obviously is to use music to bring people together. I know for sure that the community that Philly needs more communities and more tight knit communities, and I would love to see music bring that active change that we need to strengthen the bonds that are within the city.
Yeah, I think it's better than most. I mean, I would argue that. I mean, being and living or working out of other metropolitan cities, I feel like that I this is more of a home feeling.
That's true,
Like,
but home
more
doesn't pay the bills
reciprocation.
sometimes.
True.
You know what I mean? So I think we have the home community aspect down pat. Now it's about building the economy that's attached to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what needs work. Because we use the whole Philly is a poor city line every single time, and it's true, but like we have to try to work within our work within that box to move things forward.
Well,
so
it's interesting that you bring that up because a lot of it is, how we treat the past. I mean, respect the past.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's what I know. Obviously, if you look at the Uptown Theater or Sigma Sound Studios, like these are beacons of Philadelphia music history and what is being done. So it's like I know the folks Max over at Brewery Town Beats, like they're working on, trying to save the location, and that's like right down the street for me right here. But to have that like turn it into something where you have, Philly International and all these other different, pieces of Philadelphia music history and like preserve it.
Mm-hmm.
And show and celebrate it and turn it into a museum. Do something. Because it just can't become residences or another, like
another goddamn
that wouldn't happen.
Right.
That wouldn't happen to Motown.
Right. Yeah, and that's where the community buy-in needs to come. Like when something's like very wild, things are. It's very easy in Philly, and not just in music, but there's very easy ways for the city or the powers that be to make moves and no outrage be attached to them.
Yeah.
And that's what annoys me about this town. Sometimes, like when there's like flagrantly egregious shit and nobody's saying anything.
Yeah.
Like, and I always brought up like, why wasn't there a big community backlash when Sigma Sound, got demolished? And why was there not? Why is there only a sign outside of the sound what is it, Philly International Records? Like, these are problems, and these are bigger problems than I think we want to tackle because we also we're very short-sighted town where we only want to talk about things that are that we can fix within the next 24 hours instead of like building like a very substantial long-term infrastructure, which is what other cities have. Like Atlanta is much smaller than us, but they have a much stronger infrastructure, and they have.
It's bad,
right?
Like I mean, and so you're in the like the DC area too, and so you see how fucking clean it is down in Georgia, like in different parts, like in relation, but like with construction and with art, like I say all the time, like it's why don't the Philadelphia Flyers have like a orange construction cone as their emblem? Because it's always like it's an unfinished city.
Yeah, that's true.
You came from outside and you were like, I'm gonna go visit Philadelphia, and you're like construction,
right?
Long-term projects. But I mean, that's the weak, twisted way that the workers' union and contracts go. It's like no project gets seen out to it being finished. Everything's kind of in the middle. It drags on forever. Ugh. I mean, there's so many things that we could point out. Like
Yeah.
differences between our American cities and then European cities. But I don't know, like that delay or that kind of like constant state of flux is not cool for people. It's your residents.
So, with stating all of those issues within the city, a lot of the conversations I've been having with the DJs, particular online here, but also offline, is about the very bizarre nightlife industry that we have. So talk about that as a DJ, as someone who works in these spaces, and how in the past difficult it is, and what do you foresee as some of the challenges once we're out of the pandemic?
Whew.
I know that's a loaded question, but
no, that's a good one. I mean, there are like different. I mean, there's so many different like sectors and spheres of nightlife in Philadelphia, and whether it be the parts of the city, or even if it is an establishment, that hires or contracts out DJs or musicians as their entertainment is one thing. And then you have the whole DIY component where more, I guess, buildings or even after hours places that, are bringing in party throwers, promoters in that regard. I think that you gotta have diversity is great, but I work with a group called 24 Hour Philadelphia.
We know them.
And one of the things that a lot of that we talk about is like in other cities they have nightmares like that really somebody in politics is designated to what the goings on of their city when the sun goes down, you know? And that's I think that's something that we need, because a lot of it is just us.
Yeah.
Whether this musician has a degree in, civic planning or whatever, it's like you're kind of like pulling from like what we already know or where we come from, like different things. But are we being represented, with the major decision-making people, when it comes to city council, when it comes to, our different branches of government here. But I think that what has to happen is that the sound of Philadelphia, that's the sound of Philadelphia. That's when it happens. It happens mostly in those after hours places or those places that draw a non-commercial audience, where artists are allowed to experiment, and where the people that go to it are already hip to that and creating a sustainable culture for whatever music scene that they're in, Whether
no, go ahead.
Whether you're into, house music, or if you're into, different forms of rock music, new wave, or whatever. And whatever your bag is, like there's things going on,
So like going out of this, when we come out of this pandemic, I just see this need for all communities to come together if we're really trying to boost it, because we're going to have to boost Philadelphia's economy, and Philadelphia's economy is based on hospitality and tourism, and you DJs and entertainers are kind of a part of that. They don't like to include you in that, but you are. So if I don't know, I guess the question I have, why do you think these, the hospitality and the tourism industries need you guys? Because I think that's what's going to be, that's what's going to be the piece that, you know, the community needs to say. Like, so in your opinion, why do they need you guys?
Ooh. Realistically, like things that I struggle with, I go, and maybe I'm even forced to believe this is like, do they need us? Like that's the force of the question.
Well, the answer to that is yes.
Yeah, I mean, but then that all comes down to the patrons, and that it's all about what are the type of people that you know populate a event space or a bar or a club. You know, like, do they care? You know,
Do you get a vibe in Philly that people don't care?
I think it's hit or miss. I think that there are times where I go, oh, you know, I'm just background, you know,
Yeah,
background music for people.
and I know we had
Which is
some
fine,
DJs,
because
and
I will background the shit out of it because,
yeah,
but I kind of feel like that sometimes. It's not like I'm like, oh man, I'm treated like a redhead stepchild everywhere I go. But
yeah.
no, you know, sometimes.
And I know we have some DJs in the room. Hey Rebel, hey Aura, hey Queen Joe. You know, if you guys have any insight to that too, I'm very curious to know what your thoughts on if you think Philly and people in Philly and industries in Philly really appreciate you guys, because I think that's a big piece, big piece of the puzzle in this. So type your comments in, and I'll read them out.
It is. You're
So
right. I mean, like, Sonny James did a really good interview with another friend, King Most,
yeah.
out in Los Angeles and San Francisco, just in California.
Mm-hmm.
And Sonny said the same thing. It's like people in Philly don't, like, you gotta fucking impress people. Like, I don't fucking care. I mean, sometimes, you know, like it's man, like pulling teeth to get a response. And then other times that you get it and it's very natural and organic and it's great. And those are the times where you feel like, man, I'm actually doing something creative.
Yeah. So Queen Joe says if a space is going to survive, it needs artists. Um, my girl Aura, hey Aura, I feel like they aren't enough. The venues aren't aware how much they need us. I think that's a very true statement as well. And I would also say that in terms of media, I think, you know, and I mean, there's amazing journalists who painstakingly and, you know, try to cover the cultural scene in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that is where the most interesting stories in Philly are, is within the culture, the music, the clothing, the whatever. Um, but it seems like, and I've even heard that it's very hard for them to pitch stories, because why should they care about the arts and culture when the education system is shit,
Yeah.
and you know, people are, you know, shooting each other like crazy, you know what I mean, and it only took corona to get people stuck in a damn house, you know what I mean. So like,
Yeah.
there's just other stories that go up against, and you know, and that's also the reason why Anderson Street is here, because it's, you know, we just want to push things, but you know, it's incredibly difficult.
You're right. It starts like that. Like, I mean, it obviously everything is gonna, you know, you either completely restructure later and just focus on young people and go like, hey, we're fucked for like 10, 15 years until they become older. But if they, you know, I mean, I was a school teacher for 8 years in West Philly,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, there was no music program. There were a
Yeah.
couple drum programs, you know, but it was the thing. Kids get recorders.
Mm.
It was
Yeah.
third or fourth
Oh, I
grade.
remember those recorders.
Somebody was telling me, a friend was, my friend mine was saying like, oh yeah, we used to put it in the dishwasher every night, you know, to like sterilize it or whatever. Tears.
I'm mad.
But like, you know, like third or fourth grade, you should be choosing a trumpet or a clarinet or, you know, or a flute or a drum. And I don't know, it teaches discipline. It
Yeah.
teaches so much more than just music, you know. And then it also instills the appreciation of music. So then you become an adult where that matters, you know?
Hmm. So, hey, Rebel. Rebel was our guest last Friday.
Yeah, my little nephew.
He said, for those who do care, it does mean a lot. But it's for sure a city where you go, where you got to go for a hard. You got to go hard for a good job at the least. That's true too. Well, I actually think that's not just music. I just think Philly just doesn't have a lot of jobs, period, which is why people just leave.
Yeah. I mean, uh, I, did you, no, wait, did you have a conversation with Limo? Or no, Limo was like,
We're working on it. Yes, we are working on Lima. We are in touch. So, yes,
a
we'll
fellow
be.
Baltimore native, and it was like I know I was watching it, and one of her, and she was responding in the comments, and it really resonated with me because it's the same thing. People will flee Baltimore, you know,
Mhm.
and leave, you know, which is like and it's different the context that I speak of because I came from a big then Los Angeles to here. I
Right.
love Philadelphia way more than LA. I will tell you that as far as my
Well,
experience.
I've never been to LA, but yeah, there's just something about it. There's something about the people who live there. It's just they don't do
I
much.
think we can agree that music across our nation is not being, you know, funded properly,
Well, absolutely.
or any of the arts.
Well, there's no funding, period. Everybody's doing it on their own.
Well, we
But
have
I
that,
think
and then now we have Becky DeVos, who is, you know, a complete moron, and you know, heading our education. It, I don't know, you know. Let's give it a year, 2 years, see if we can get back on track.
yeah, we'll see. I mean, I have my trepidations. I wonder what, how. I mean, we're all leaning into technology nowadays.
Yeah,
Um,
which has been crazy.
right, but it seems like technology is what's going to save the industry in a way.
Or completely break it down.
Mm.
Because what's to say that you're at a club and they're like, we're gonna live stream D Nice, you know, tonight, and fuck your local DJ, you know.
Yeah.
It could happen. You know,
Well,
I was talking with Royale the other day. I'm like, have you thought about this too? I'm like, what's gonna happen where like obviously the larger venues are not gonna be, you know, open, or large festivals and things like that. And then all of a sudden, you know, they're gonna come down to our level, you know, because people want to work. And then you're all of a sudden ousted from, you know, the residency that you have here. You're there just because, you know, somebody with a name just wants to play, you know.
mm,
Could happen.
it could. That definitely could happen. So, what are you prepared to do during this time to kind of be relevant or stay relevant?
Write my memoirs. Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's a game that I just decided not to play. Like,
Interesting.
this whole I like doing jumping on, doing a live DJ thing, but it's more so just me having fun and like, let me just release a little bit, and then like maybe, you know, a few people or friends are like hop on and just for sheer entertainment purposes. But it's
Hmm.
anything that I'm thinking about trying to create and sustain.
Hmm.
I mean, what I realized the most is what I love about DJing is the warm bodies in front of me, and you know, and seeing people's reactions and dancing and like, man, I seriously, that's what I miss the most, because that's when I feel like I get it, you know, like I don't have an agenda when I play. I don't create playlists. I don't. I look at everything as like a bowl of clay that's malleable and like ready to shape. And the people that are there, they're gonna direct me to where we're going, and
Love that.
that's how we go. So if I don't have that, then like there's no fun for me.
That's really good. That's really freaking good. Um, so one, if I just want to, do another quick commercial break. If you guys have any questions for Craig or for me, mostly for Craig, feel
Today's
free to
interview is
drop.
sponsored by Dentine.
Feel free to drop some some comments and questions privately or in the chat. Queen Joe thinks that Philly is not in jeopardy of like the D Nices and all the other popular DJs, because Philly could give a fuck who that is. I actually agree with that. I fully agree with that.
I love D Nice though. Like, I mean, and I mean, this is neither here nor there. And I didn't suggest that could happen. I was just, I think we started off with like the dystopian nightmares and like things. Like, what could be the worst things that happen? Like robots or DJing for us. But like I was a D Nice fan when he was a rapper. Like,
Yeah.
I came up with Boogie Down Productions. KRS One was like a god to me when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
I wanted to be like D Nice. And I'm and like no disrespect at all in that. I was just kind of like understanding how this streaming is going with Instagram. Like, look, Evan, at least we've been able to talk for what 49 minutes, and we haven't been kicked off.
Yeah.
So I mean, there are algorithms and things like that, and those big name people like have partnerships with the Facebooks and the Instagrams, and not your blue collar DJ,
Yeah.
But I mean, I can't just sit around and bitch and moan about it. I mean, it is what it is.
But I have a feeling they will lax. They might be forced to lax up. They might have to.
We're also thinking that people have compassion, and they don't. Like, our thoughts are, because we're like, oh man, like everybody's struggling, and people just want some joy in their fucking lives during this time, and to be able to have that type of freedom to like share with your friend. But they don't think like that, It's sad, but that's how it is,
There was a question that was just submitted. What did you bring from LA to Philly, like artistically?
Artistically, definitely the LA underground, just vibes. Like, I mean, I started as like a backpacker DJ, and like I spent most of my time there in Chinatown, and like one of my favorite parties was called Firecracker. It was at the Grand Star. The do-overs going, like it was like those types of communities where it's like all different types of people from different backgrounds, styles, and just people and intelligence, like people had their music intelligence, but then they were also just fucking smart people. And it was right around the time when Dilla had passed, so it was like it was very easy to be out and see Madlib and Dilla, Jurassic 5, Freestyle Fellowship. So it was like what I brought with me there, or what was still wanted to kind of still DJ like that. Like I didn't want to go in and play whatever like you hear currently or on the radio. So it was just like, like backpacker underground shit, and I think that then relayed into other forms of music, not just hip hop. Where I was like, oh no, this is a great B-side, or this is something that I'm sorry, I was getting like weird things, but like they had like KCRW, where it was Garth Dad, and then you would get Giles Peterson, and like all these great radio guys that were like teaching you, like when you and I was like, that's the kind of DJ I wanted to be. And then when I came here, and then like Cosmo and Rich and Scheme and King, and like was like, oh shit, like these are those guys. Like that was Philadelphia's version of those other, you know, entities. And it all, I think also, so yeah, that I would say that definitely was what I brought here, you know, like a fearlessness to like not like, I don't really care if you know this, like I want to break records. I want to play you some shit that's just groovy or make you, you know, give a bit of beer face or whatever. Like, I was like, this is what I want, you know?
Why don't artists break songs anymore? Or why don't DJs break songs anymore?
I think it's more so because the crowds are not ready, you know? We're on a different timeline.
Yeah.
Like, the shit that we, like, when we get it, we're like, yo, that's gonna be hot. And sometimes you just go, I'm not even gonna play it, because they're not gonna appreciate it until 2 months from now. And then it's gonna be the shit. And then by then, we're tired of it. It happens all the time.
Interesting.
So, but you know, there's times where I'm like, I want to be on my team, and like, I want to be like, yo, I want to make sure I have this shit right. And I'm like, oh man, I'm tired of playing that.
Yeah, you were the first person I heard play "Girl" by the Internet.
Cool.
Yeah, and I remember Shazamming it, being like, "Who the fuck is that?" And I'd been following the Internet for a while, but I just hadn't heard that song yet.
Thank you. And you know what's great is that you remember that. Like,
oh yeah.
Especially when a song or when a piece of music really, really fucking hits you hard, you remember that it could be years. You can remember where you were at, what was going on, who you were dating, how you were feeling, you know, who played it, who exposed you to it. That's the fucking beauty of music, man.
Yeah.
It's like smells.
Ura said people don't want to leave their comfort zone, and I think that's a big issue in Philly. People not leaving their comfort zones. I think that's one of the things that's holding the folks back. Holding the scene back. Actually,
it is true. I mean, like I think I think that's comes from within though. Like I think there are people that are generally investigators, and there are people that are travelers, you know, like there's tons of people that have never been outside of their radius of their neighborhood, you know. And I think that's what it is. People are used to what they want to, they only want to surround themselves with what they know, what makes them comfortable. And, you know, but then again, there are other people that from their heart and their soul says, I want to go to Asia. I want to, you know, I want to see places. I want to have new experiences. I want to try different cuisines, you know. And if the more we can amass that types of people together, but we totally can. We've seen it. Like we see it in, you know, in different pockets, and you're a part of that as much as I am, you know. Because there's got to be the town crier. There's got to be the messenger, you know. Because most of us, and I'm speaking for myself, but I know a lot of other DJs. Like, I don't like fucking talk. I don't like doing promotion shit. Like, I don't like talking about art as much. Like, I feel like I'm hammering it over the head a lot. Like that.
Well, shit, closed mouths don't get fed.
Well, not as much as most, and that's sickening. When I see a lot of like DJs just like constantly like promoting this, blah 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 blah, blah. And I'm like, ugh, let people like find out for themselves, you know.
That's true.
So I think sometimes I know that's not me. I mean, I just couldn't do it. It's better to have somebody talk for you, and it's better to have like a journalist or, you know, true audiophiles, like true people that are passionate about community, passionate about togetherness, and being that connector, you know, like that makes it all the better, you know.
Queen Joe, I love these Players Club quotes. Hilarious.
Wait.
You play. Um, but yeah, we have 3 minutes left. If
Oh
anybody,
no! We can go
time
on
flies.
forever.
I know. Time flies when you're having fun.
That's true.
So if anybody has a last minute question, we will take them. But tell the folks like what you're working on, how they
Only
can
on
follow.
evenings. Only on evenings. I'm stripping only on the evenings.
Oh, please stop it. Um, so
We just talked about the Players Club.
a classic movie, by the way. But seriously, tell the folks like what you're working on, how they can follow you, how they can support you, all that stuff.
I would say that, you know, for the folks tuned in, like obviously please support Motown on Mondays Philadelphia. That's been like the best thing, I think, you know, for Junior and Little Dave and myself and all the people that we bring in for that. Like once we get back up and going, like I think that, you know,
Now you know that's our favorite party now. So we want to be a part of it.
It's an honor to be a part of it. Like, and all of us, like when we get to play in other cities, like we bring it. We bring the Philly sound there. You know, like we're all like it's all.
Ava knows. Ava's a regular like me. Yes, God.
But yeah, I mean, just really just my Instagram. Like I don't know what's going on with this. I think the Ill Vibe guys are doing the right thing with the Twitch.
The Twitch, yeah.
Because you're using power and numbers. I was saying the other night, and I was like, it makes sense, you know. In fact, like after now, you should be checking out Matthew Law and his set, and support all those guys. They're all great. Like they're my brothers. I think that if more people then like gravitate to that that vehicle, because the Instagram thing is not working.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. Like, I mean, we got
yeah.
Twitch or Mixcloud has something now. I don't know what's going on with that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's for temporarily, because it's not going to be 9 weeks until the bars open up, and that's going to be
right.
So, Fame, what up? The dance. That's another thing we didn't even really get into that. Like how that, you know, the dance community.
Yeah, we will. Hopefully this won't be the last time we talk. We have
Anytime.
Yes, because we do got to close this out. We got 50 seconds left, and I want to do another shameless plug. We are at A-Listers in the Room. We're hosting Flawless tomorrow on. Returning a cute little day party situation on Zoom. We'll be honoring the OG bad girls of the 90s and 2000s, which are the girl groups. So we're talking Brownstone, Destiny's Child, the original one, you know, Escape, TLC, SWV, all the girls. So if you haven't RSVP'd yet, because we do have a cap, you know, come on and RSVP via the link in our bio. But on that note, thanks everybody for coming, and I will see y'all soon.